Prior to your makeup application, you always want to start off with a clean base. So you're going to go in with a exfoliant wipe or even witch hazel wipes, anything that's gentle on the face, just to remove any excess oils you may have prior to your makeup application. Once you have finished wiping off your face, then you're going to go in with a daily moisturizer. No matter if you have oily, dry, or combination skin, you always want to make sure your skin is hydrated. This also helps with making sure that your makeup application has a smooth base. After moisturizing your face, you want to go in with the primer. I personally use 2 primers, but any primer that you feel works perfectly for your skin type is just fine. But I go in with the NYX Angelville and the Dermablend Instagrip primer just to make sure that that foundation is lasting all day and to make sure that you have a smooth application. I apply these primers with a flathead brush just to ensure that there's no lumps, clumps, and it's just a smooth base. Afterwards, which is a little tip, I like to use Duo Lash Glue to lay down the brows just to make sure they're flat, so that way we have a better judgment of how much we need to fill in the brows. And then you can go in with any type of brow pencil that you like. Next, I like to use 2 shades. This is by Juvia's Place, to get the perfect shade match for my clients. In this specific case, I'm using Namibia and Guinea for her skin tone, and this will be for her base. Also, I will be using number 3 to go over her brows at the top. Also, we're gonna go in with LA Girl Pro Concealer. This is in the shade Porcelain and Chestnut, just to mix the two to make sure I get her perfect complexion when I'm highlighting. This will also be used for the base before we apply her eyeshadow, as well as I just stated for highlighting in her T-zone areas. And as you can see, it's about a shade lighter and we want to keep it in that range. So when you're going in with the brows, what you want to do is first fill in your brows, of course, but you always want to carve out your brows. You don't want to go too far in or create an unnatural arch. Just follow your natural arch with the concealer that we mixed together for your highlighting portion. Once that's done, you're going to want to go in with a small brush just to pat that in. Make sure it's a little tacky prior, so that way when you go to apply your eyeshadow is pigmented, as well as there's no creasing going on. Then we're going to go in with Airspun or any translucent powder that you have to set this base. This also will prevent your concealer from creasing under that eyeshadow. Now, to finish carving out her brows, I'm going to go in with the number 3 foundation that I chose, which is normally just a shade a little bit lighter than her complexion. Like I said, I like to mix the two just to make sure I have the perfect complexion, but we're going to go in with number 3 and we're going to go above the brow now just to clean it up. And as you guys will see once this video progresses, the brows come out neat. Next, we're going to go into the Morphe Artistry palette. You can honestly go into any palette you choose, but I'm going to go in with one of the browns just because this is a neutral look. And we're going to first go in circular motions gently and create that smoked out effect, so that way we have a nice blend. And then once we get on the lid, what we're going to do is just pat that color in just to make sure that color is intense and noticeable. Now, as stated before, we're going to go into the actual base now. We're mixing Namibia and Guinea, and like I said, those are maybe a shade lighter in her exact shade. And we're going to go in and we're going to mix that, because as you can see on parts of her face, there's lighter portions and there's also a little bit of darker portions. That's only because that's where the sun primarily would hit her face. So as you can see, there's no real technique to this part. You can apply it however way you feel comfortable. I specifically like to go in with a flathead Morphe brush, and just to make sure I'm not overusing any foundation, because we don't want cakey makeup. And then I'm going to go in with a foundation brush, and this is the key to making sure that your makeup does not have streaks or it's breaking apart. You want to pat, always pat. Do not wipe, do not swipe, do not go in circular motions, just pat that in. And as you can see, you will literally watch this foundation melt into her skin. And then another tip to prevent creasing under the eye, do not bring the foundation right up under her eye. You want to keep it just below that bone where you feel like the indentions in your eye. But we're going to proceed to blend as normal. And now we're going to go with that same concealer that we mixed for the base for the eye, and we're going to put that in her T-zone. So as you can see, we're putting that under her eye. We're also putting on the outer corner to have lift. We're doing the chin. We're going to do the bridge of the nose and on the forehead. Afterwards, we're going to go in with her darkest shade, which is for contouring, and this is in the shade Sokoto. And we're going to add that to her cheekbone. Now, specifically when you add it, where your cheekbone has an indentation at, you want to slightly put it on that and slightly just above. This is going to help give that cheekbone lift. And we're going to proceed to do that to the other side as well. And then we're also going to put a couple dots on her forehead to make sure that everything blends together seamlessly and that we have the proper contour. We're also going to put some under the chin. We're not going to do a lot, but this is just to help make sure that the foundation doesn't look like a mass. It's also going to blend all of her colors well together. Then we're going to take another flathead brush and we're going to line the side of her nose to create that contoured nose. You also want to bring this up into the eyebrow and slightly into the eyeshadow, just so it doesn't look like it's separate from all the other makeup that we've applied. Then after we've gotten the concealer to get a little tacky, we're going to go in with another small head brush, precision brush in a sense, and we're going to just blend that in. Once again, we're not swiping, we're not wiping, we're patting everything in. And when you're pressing this concealer in next to the contour on your nose, you want to make sure it's side by side. You don't want to go over that contour, you just want to make sure they meet and that they're blended. Then what I like to do to make sure that the makeup stays hydrated, and also because I feel like it gives a glow to the makeup, we're going to go in just with a nice face mist just to keep it hydrated and keep it glowy. Also, because a little clip was missing due to my camera overheating, all I did was go in with a foundation brush. My foundation brush is the one that I use to make sure that all the colors are blending together seamlessly. And I just blended out her contour. Foundation brush as stated before, and this was right after I sprayed her face with the mist. In doing so, this will also prevent the facial mist bubbles from leaving like little spots on her face, but this also helps blend everything together and create that shine. Afterwards, to set her concealer, what I did was I went in with Sacha Buttercup, and I just lightly patted that powder into where I put all of the highlighter at, specifically the concealer, just to be specific, just to make sure that it was set and that her concealer doesn't move. And I put this under her cheekbones as well, just to really magnify that cheekbone lift from the contour. Next, I went into the Maybelline Fit Me foundation in the shade Coconut, and I just went over that highlighter just to make sure that it wasn't too bright and make sure that everything looks more like a skin base. Afterwards, I pressed it in with my foundation brush, and yes, it's the same foundation brush as stated before because it helps blend everything together. To set her contour, I used the Black Radiance Beauty True Complexion palette And also I went in with the Juvia's Place blush. This is important for my darker skin ladies, my brown skin ladies. When you are using a blush, you want to make sure you have a deep red, but you also mix it in with an orange, because your complexion with your blush matters. It can completely throw off your makeup if your blush tones aren't actually like your flesh tones. And we're gonna put that right on top of the contour and slightly above where her highlight is, just to make sure that it's sitting in the right places. Next, I went in with the highlighter palette. You can use any of your highlighter palette, but color does matter. So for your more brown skin, darker skin tone, when you want to use your golds, I don't normally use highlighter on my clients, but in this case she wanted it, so we go ahead and put it on the balls of her cheeks. You don't want to take it all the way up. Placement does matter. You want to put it exactly where you know the light is going to hit. And then we're also going to put some on the bridge of her nose, just to really highlight that contoured nose. And for this part, I am using a precision tip brush just to make sure my placement is exactly where I want it to be. And then I like to go in with my finger just to buff it out, because we don't want an intense highlight. Next, I'm going to go in with a black eyeliner, and I like to do this prior to using my lashes, just because I feel like it helps the lashes blend more. And you can use any liquid eyeliner, and specifically I'm using NYX Epic Ink Liner in the shade Black on this one, and I'm just going to line her natural eyeline with it prior to me adding the lashes. And then I'm going to go in with any mascara of your choice, honestly it doesn't matter, and we're just going to set the base to make sure that that eyelash can sit on your lashes. Afterwards, I'm going to go in with the Duo Lash Glue, and we're going to line that on her eyelid. I find it easier to place the lashes on there rather than putting it on the lash, because wherever you put the glue out on the lash is where it's going to stick. So you want to make sure you're putting it on your lash line so that the lashes actually look natural when you put them on. And then also we're going to let the lash glue dry a little bit prior to you adding the lash, just to make sure they're not sliding or lifting once you apply. And then I like to go over the lash once again with the same black eyeliner, just to blend out the seams, or if you see any of the glue, you can go over it just to make sure it's not standing out. And then of course we're going to go into a setting spray. Specifically, I'm using the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray to make sure that her makeup does not budge. Now we're going to go into lining her lips. I like to use any brown lip liner. This one specifically is by Nika K. But I use two, one to line the lips and one to give the lip definition. So typically one of the browns are maybe a shade lighter than the actual definition liner that I'm going to be using next. The definition liner is just a shade darker. And in this case, any brown lip liner will do. This will also help create the perfect nude lip. So as stated, now I'm going to go in with a darker lip liner, and I only like to line where her Cupid's bow is and in the middle of her lip line. And then afterwards, I like to take a flathead brush, a smaller one, normally one that's made for applying lipstick, and we're gonna apply a matte lipstick, and I'm gonna spray it with setting spray so that way it's time. That way it is more blendable when it's time to actually blend it out. And then I'm going to go back in with the lip liner, and I am going to make sure that the lip liner doesn't get lost under that lipstick, and then I'm going to blend it out. Blending is key with everything with makeup application. Lastly, because she wanted gloss, we are going to add gloss. And that is your finished look on a nice neutral everyday makeup glam.